Hello everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about a scenario where maybe the client wants to retrieve the fiscal year for incidents that are already in the system or for incidents that are, about to be entered into the system. So today what we're going to do is we're going to, I've already created a field called Fiscal Year, and this fiscal year is going to be a string field, and it's going to be read only because we don't want anyone changing the fiscal year. Excuse me. So what we'll end up doing is we'll calculate the fiscal year using a formula that we're going to enter into the flow designer, and that flow designer formula is going to populate the fiscal year based off of the created date that we see right here. All right. So let's just go and take a look at our fiscal year. Here's a fiscal year, string type, and the max length I set to 10, and also set it to read only because we don't want anyone to change that value. If we go to the incident table, we can see that the fiscal year is here and it is blanked out. All right. So we're going to go to Flow Designer. And another thing that we're going to want to do is let's just go back and let's bring in the created date just to kind of have that as reference while we work on this. So we'll bring in the created date. And we'll bring it up here close to the fiscal year. And just to use it as reference. And I'm going to save it. All right, then we have it created here, 8/38/2018, and then what we'll do is, just to get an idea of, which is very important, we're going to use this value, so we're going to need to see that it says sys_created_on. So that's going to be important when we're writing our flow designer. So back to the flow designer, I'm going to say new and flow. I'm going to say calc fiscal year. I'm going to say submit. We have our flow created. We're going to set our trigger. So in this case, you'll first see that there's a record trigger where you're created, updated, or created and updated on. Since this is something that we want to capture all of the existing tickets in the system and ones that are going forward, what we're going to do is we're going to just run this daily. If you do created, those other tickets that are already in the system have already been created, so the trigger won't hit those. And updated only for new ones or existing ones that have some changes to it. So these aren't really going to work for us quite just right. They'll only hit the ones that are in the future or any ones that are updated that have already been in the system. So we want to get a take all. So we're going to go ahead and do a daily, and we can configure this anytime to run throughout the day. And we just want to make sure that we're capturing all tickets and making sure that anything that, and we'll put a condition in here, anything that doesn't have a fiscal year, we're going to go ahead and do a calculation of it. So the time doesn't really matter in this case. you can say, 9 o'clock every day, run it and check for any tickets that don't have any fiscal year. So we'll just say done on this one. So the action is, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create an action and we're going to look up all incident records that are in the system. Sorry, system's running a little slow today. All right, so we're going to go to look up records, not just one record. We want to look up all records here. And we're going to look up all records in the incident table. All right. And then what we want to do is we want to find all records where the fiscal year is empty. So that'll bring us all fiscal years that are empty. If we already ramped to a pass through and it's already updated the fiscal year, then we don't want to worry about it. But we do want to do all the fiscal years that are empty. So we're going to say done on that. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to something that's called flow logic. So what we're going to do is we want to say for each of those records that are empty with the fiscal year, it's going to say for our number one, all these that are number one. I'm going to say those instant records, done. And then you see how it comes through. So if you ever know coding, you know how this is the condition and then you have the directives in the middle here. So we're going to update the record. So we're getting each record one at a time, and as we get one and we pass through, we're going to update the record. And what we're going to say is we want to update the record for each record that we find. And the value that we want to update is the fiscal year. And here's where our script comes into. So right here, there's a little place where you can toggle, where you can add a script in. So here we're going to say, now that we have everything in place, we're going to create the script for the to find the current year that it was created, and then we're going to set the fiscal year based off that information, which we will have a formula that will do that. So first thing we're going to do is get the value of the system created on. So and we'll say the data. So what we're going to do is we're going to get it from each record, and then we're going to say item, and that item is going to be the value, which is sys created on. Then we're going to create a date object and set it to that value that we just created. And next thing we're going to do is an if statement. So we're going to say if date, let's say get month, etc. Let's say plus 1 is less than or equal to 3. So we get the month and add 1, and then we'll check it against this value 3, and that will tell us the fiscal year that it is in. Now we'll return, and we're going to just put in that box, we just want to say for year and then add the date. Get the year. So first thing that this did is it took the current date and it evaluated the date by getting the month of the current date. It added 1 to the month and then evaluated if it is less than or equal to 3. So if that condition is true, it's going to return the current year that you're in. Now, if this is not true, and this does not evaluate to true, we're going to go ahead and create a new variable and say, we're going to say future year equals year. So we'll just say the future year, because if it's not the current year, it's the next year. So we're going to say date dot get year UTC, and we're going to add 1. So if it's not the current year, by evaluating that top part, it's going to be the future year. And then we'll just return for year plus the future year variable that we created. We'll say done. And what we'll do is we'll test it out. And what we'll do is go to operation. As you can see, it looked at the records. It took all the records that it went through, and for each of the records that it went through, it updated the record with the fiscal year information. So let's go to our incident table. As you can see, this created date was evaluated that it wasn't within the current year, so we're saying that if it was past the 3rd month, so it's past March, so of this year, is past March of that year, so it is in the future year, which is 2019. And we can go to some other records. Let's pull up this one here. It wasn't past March in that year, so it was the current year, so fiscal year 2021. All right, hopefully that helped you out. Hopefully this is something that you can use. Hopefully it helped you with a little bit of Flow Designer. But please comment, let me know what you think of this video, and hope that this all brings you well. So thank you, and for the next video, look out.